Boom.
Cool.
Boom. There
Back
it is.
on. We're talking about getting wads of cash from bartending and all that fun stuff. Yeah. What I always said was like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, people can just make so much money in some circumstances, just like, you know, working behind a bar, and maybe it's something they enjoy doing. But like, well, for me, it was like whenever I found myself kind of just like staring off in the middle of my shift, like, well, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like what am I doing? If you find yourself doing that too often, then like you should probably reconsider it because like you know what I mean? But like and there's doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. Doesn't mean that like they're better than you. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means like for your own well-being, your soul is telling you like what are you doing? And I found myself doing that too often and was like, okay, I gotta like move on and because I had other plans that I was just putting off, It's like what am I avoiding something? Is this like a creative um they call it like creative distracting, like creatively distracting yourself from like what you really should be doing. I think you can do that with anything. It doesn't mean that thing is bad. It just or that people that do that thing is like are it just means you need to move on and you know it.
Yeah, and when the money's good, it's easy for you to stay and keep going back every day and you go, all right, coming back for my next paycheck every day. But when the money's not there and the things are slow, you're like looking around. It's like McDonald's fries. Like when they're hot, you're like, oh, these are good. But then give them 10 minutes and they're cold and you're like, what is this? Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
You're going
this
to the
is
bottom
this
of the bottom of that container of like the fry and it's just like sadness. It's salty something, but it's not fries anymore.
Yeah, you're like, is this even food? Like, you looking around, it's like, is this even a job? Like, what am I even doing here? I could be doing more with my
Yeah.
life, but then you go, well, here come the people, and I got my money, and then I guess I'll come back tomorrow and do it again.
Hmm.
But good for you that you were able to like move out of that and like,
Yeah, and
you know,
it was a lot of drinking too. It was a lot of like, it was like you get those jobs where like they encourage you to like take shots behind the bar. That's cool for a lot of people, and some people like it's a big party, and I guess that's cool. But like I don't think that's a good way to like run business. Like you should, like I mean, if I'm the owner, not that I wouldn't have been saying that like 5 6 years ago when I was still doing it, but like yeah, I don't, it's probably not the most professional way to run a business. And you're like going there and it's a means of you getting intoxicated. It's like that adds a whole nother layer to it, and you know what I mean? You're encouraged to, and it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to get handed this cash at the end of the night. And I'm gonna be like ripping shots behind the bar. So it's like you're going and you're getting, a lot of cases, you're getting drunk too. It's like, good luck, like stepping that back.
that's a slippery slope right there. Once you get into the old drinking every night and just making money doing it, and you're like, why would I stop this? And then you got, I mean, I luckily I stopped. Uh, like, I mean, I quit drinking probably. I mean, at like 24, which is like I was bartending then for like maybe a few years. So like I was for the first few years I was doing that where like I'd work different events downtown, like Orlando at Wall Street, and they'd be like, yeah, yeah, you can drink as much as you want, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
don't
Get
don't tell
hammered.
me that. No,
Yeah.
don't. I black out drink, like I black out every time I drink. So I'm like, don't tell me that. And yeah, by the end of the night, it was like just drinking out of the bottle, like pouring into people's mouths, like giving people bottles, and you're like, what is going on? And then I don't remember anything, and I wake up in
Yeah.
my bed with like a few hundred in cash, and you're like, I guess it's good. I mean, it's a lifestyle that you can't really do for too long, but I guess it's fun while you do it.
It's like, oh, you know what I mean? These are gonna be fun memories. Let's go do it. But it's like some of the stuff you get involved in, you're like, ooh, I'm glad I got through that, and there's a memory there, but like that could have went bad, you know? Like,
Ma- you were making memories and losing memories all at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I stopped. So you stopped drinking at 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped. I honestly went. I was one of those like, I could easily like kind of pull back on the party lever. Like that was never actually really hard for me. Like I could like go out and like not really go too hard, but like I would find myself like figuring that out like over and over. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, okay, this is obviously the point where like it's affecting my happiness. I can't go out and party like this many times a week or something. Like I would like, but I would flirt with that line a lot, you know, like, and then every once in a while, one of those nights where it was like, most of the nights weren't like college. Most of them would be like, I'm gonna go have a couple drinks, like whatever. But I was one of those people that would always feel it too. No matter if it was one drink, I would feel it the next day and be like, why do I even have one drink? This is stupid. And then that obviously begs the question, should I be drinking at all? And I think your brain doesn't like that idea, you know? So it's like I think a lot of people get caught in that. Maybe like you're not like whatever, you know, an alcoholic, or maybe you're not this, maybe you're not that, but maybe you are stuck in like an unhealthy loop where like it could easily be like diagnosed as like alcohol use disorder or something, but you just kind of, society makes it really easy to live in a gray area with that, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And well, then you start to get problems from that. And then you start to quill those problems with the alcohol. So
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I'm hungover today. You're like, oh, man. And then some people are like, oh, let me just start drinking again. And then you're like, that will solve it. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, that's, oh, a terrible loop to get into because then you're just drinking all day, every day. And
Yeah, yeah. And you might have that one friend that's like tries to tell you like, oh dude, like freaking alcoholic over here, but then like it's just passed off as a joke, or like I think you'll really have that situation where someone in your life is going to pull you aside and be like, "Yo, what's going on?" Because at that point, if you're really into it, you're only hanging out with people that are partying, and that's when it gets really like that's when I think people can get like pretty bad with it. Like your whole friend group, your whole environment is built around like getting fucked up, and you didn't
yeah,
realize it. Yeah.
yeah, you're drinking at home to go to sleep. You're drinking for like some sort of therapy. Then you're drinking like with socially with everybody who's getting fucked up, and then you're just drinking all the time. And yeah, if you're whoever you're around is really what's gonna influence you the most. So if everyone's just getting hammered every night, then you're probably gonna be in the same boat. Don't listen to me. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about, but
Oh yeah, dude.
uh,
Like this is
I,
just
I had to quit because I got blackout all the time, and I'd wake up in Tampa with no pants on. Why is my face blue? Why am I on top of a jeep? That type of stuff. Or someone find me naked, passed out, like face down in a hot tub, and then they're like, "You were in
dude.
public sleeping on the floor earlier." I was like, "I guess so."
It is funny, like the things that you end up talking about. It's like because it's just like, yeah, man. But like, if you could like hear me explain, like, yeah, you know, you shouldn't party. Like, it's probably not the best thing to do, and like simultaneously have some clip alongside of like some of the like even mild stuff I used to get involved in or like find myself doing. Like, you'd be like, well, this guy is like a piece of shit, dude. Like, why is he telling me? Why is he telling me not to do this? And like, what the look at this crap that he's like. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would
Yeah.
listen to someone like you who was like been there and then explains, "Hey, look, like this is what happened to me. Like this is just my experience, and it's not good, but you can avoid it." Rather than someone who's like never drank in their life before, and they're like, "You shouldn't do it because it's bad." And you're like, "Yeah, but it's more it has more weight when it comes from someone who actually used to like abuse it, or
Hmm.
just it would do terrible things to them." So that I don't know. I tend to listen to that more than someone who's just like,
Yeah. I decided, I was asking you about the alcohol originally because I decided at the beginning of this year, or no, was it the beginning of this year? Oh, yeah. No, I think it's only actually only been like six, maybe like 6 months at this point, but I stopped like completely with alcohol. Like, but not, but I'm 36. Like it took me, it was enough. It wasn't like, hasn't been like a problem in a while. It was just like I started to actually notice, I used to get like bad headaches. I used to get migraines. I used to get like weird symptoms sometimes and be like, what, and all the weird stuff that like I couldn't really figure out what was going on, like migraine frequency, like things that happen where like you go to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, I mean, here's a migraine medication. They don't talk, like they're not going to ask like what's your diet like, how many days, how many days a week are you exercising, like how do you are you feeling generally unwell, do you have anxiety, like are you depressed about it, like they're not going to ask you like all the things that are actually associated with, you know getting random headaches, like not feeling well. So no like definitive answer there, but then just the more I wouldn't drink, like, oh yeah, like freaking you're like, so it's so obvious, you know, like you're poisoning, like how often, like all you gotta do is ask yourself, like, how often am I poisoning myself? That's essentially what you're doing. You're taking in alcohol, like your liver is like freaking out and trying to metabolize it and get it out of your body, and it's creating like a toxic environment that makes you feel funny. And that's what getting drunk is. You know, it's like, so how often are you poisoning yourself, which is really what you want to ask. Um, and like, if it's often, then you probably stop poisoning yourself so much. You know, it's like, it really is that. I mean, and I just, it's not because I don't drink anymore, but I knew like the benefits that like I got from it physically, and you just hear so many people like explaining like how good their life got, that it is kind of like, a lot of people. And one thing that bothers me from a scientific standpoint is like people will point to like literature and they'll be like, yeah, but people that have a drink a day or report going out with friends and having alcohol like this many times a week, like a lot of them, like you can look at some studies that indicate they might be having like actually more longevity or better. But what I think it is probably something to do with like the quality of life. Like if you are doing that, you're getting like social, you're getting social interaction. You're probably using alcohol as like a social lubricant to help build up these like stronger relationships you have in your life. You're having conversation. You're kind of like, maybe you're not going to therapy, so you're just like, that's when you're telling people everything. Like there's so much to be said for that. You know what I mean? And like you can kind of parse that out, I think, and be like, it's probably not the poison. It's probably the better things in your life that the poison is kind of like encouraging you to do, assuming you're not overdoing it. There's probably like a gray area there, where it's like, yeah, that's good for you, you know?
Yeah, you're right. It's wild how when you're in the pool, you don't realize how cold it is until you step out of it, and then you're like, you go dip your toe in it again, you're like, "Oh, this is freezing." So, like, when you're drinking all the time and then or whatever drugs, and then you step away and you get this clarity, and then you do it again, like, let's say a month later, you go, Jesus Christ, like this affected me so much. But like when you're doing it every day, you don't realize it because it's just normal. It's just par for the course. Like you're used to feeling that way all the time. So your body
Hmm.
goes, I guess I just have headaches every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just,
And
yeah, yeah. It's so true. Yeah, it's like, some people like, even like when you ask people like, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you're like a healthy person? Like, everyone's calibration is different with that, like some people live with chronic pain, like with nothing they can actually do about it. It's like, well, they have a different idea than, and it's like, okay, then you start thinking about the people that are living with chronic pain, maybe not realizing it because of these behaviors they've been doing for so long, and they haven't drawn the association and made that strong connection that these behaviors are causing this chronic pain. It's like, that's a weird, yeah, it's a weird position to be in. But like, what I think part of the reason that I've always been drawn to like the health field and like just wellness and stuff, because it is really fucking
uh,
cool when you see people realize that, and you see people
yeah,
actually like, oh shit, like these behaviors, okay, how do I change behavior? And then they go down this, like, it starts this path. And some people think it's going to be really short, and then they're always like wrong, and it doesn't actually, nothing really happens until it gets ingrained and just like carved into your brain. But then like you watch them like go through that, and like years later, they're just like different people. You're like, holy shit, like that's cool. That's cool.
100%.
Yeah.
I speaking of like going to the doctors and having headaches, because I would have like I still do have migraines sometimes and more than normal. And I've been drinking, over a decade, so it's like, well, where is this coming from? So I've been trying to figure out, is this from dehydration? Is this from overexertion? Is this from sleeping wrong? Is this from muscle imbalances? And I'm trying to do all these like tests essentially where I'm trying to isolate different variables and be like, is this what's doing it? Is this what's doing it? Is this what's doing it? Paying attention to it when it happens and what helps. And so I go to the doctor and I'm like, I've got migraines. And she's like, okay, well, you can take the pill daily to prevent it, or you can take the pill when it comes on. I'm like, I don't want any of these, So I'm like, can I do, I guess I'm here. I paid for this. I guess I'll do the pill when it comes on. So like I took maybe a handful of times. I took this migraine medication, like when I had a migraine, and it was still there. It was just like someone put it in the back seat.
Oh,
So like
dude,
the
was it
music was still.
sumatriptan?
I don't remember what it was called.
And like I'm like addicted to YouTube. I love watching YouTube videos. Like I just love ever since I started posting my own stuff, like I really like watching new YouTube channels. Like you know what I mean? I love watching it. I just love doing it. I love
I hear
looking
you.
at like new skate YouTube channels. Just like some dude who's like 45, like I'm gonna just like make a YouTube channel and I'm gonna document my old ass like trying to learn how to skateboard. Like, dude, I did that skateboard clinic yesterday morning, and like, man, dude, there were adults there. Like, there were people like there was a woman in her early 50s, um, like did not look like her in a, like did not like look like her in a skateboard would exist in like the same universe. Like, not someone you'd think is gonna skateboard, dude. She was there. She was cool as hell. Like she got to where she could push and she was pushing around, you know, and kind of started to almost put the back foot on to kind of ride the board a little bit. But dude, like so cool. So cool to see. Like it's wild to me when people just decide at later age, I'm gonna learn how to skateboard. And people that stick with it, man, I mean, like that's a brutal process, you know, and you get to where you can actually do some stuff. Like people don't realize how much work goes into skateboarding tricks, man. It's it's hard. It's really, really, really hard. So it's like when you've gone through it, you see someone at that age doing it. It's just there's just so much appreciation there. Like good for that
None of
person. So and I love when they take it a step further and they make YouTube channels. I'm like, dude, I'll watch this all day. Like I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and not only is it hard, but it's like you have to go through falling and you have to get up and do it again and get
Hmm.
up and do it again and try to get it right until you do. And then there's no, like, you didn't buy that trick. You can't get it any other way but through your own like discipline, and you figured it out, you pushed through it, and you ollie and you're like, oh, this is never going to happen. And then with that attitude it won't, but if you just keep going, and those are the people, it like weeds out people who shouldn't be there. So it's like,
Hmm.
a lot of like anything that's hard, like stand up or whatever it is, like if you're going to eat shit in the beginning, and if you stick with it, then yeah, you earn some respect from people who have like, I did the same thing. So it's good to see like older people doing it. Even especially, I mean, young people too. I mean, like little kids are gnarly these days. But oh man, I used to skate in at Taveri skate park.
Uh-huh.
You remember
Yeah,
that
that's
one?
yeah. That's where I
I,
learned. That's where I learned to skate again, dude.
yeah, well, so did you stop skateboarding at a certain point and then start it again?
Yeah, I stopped. Dude, I only really skated when I was younger from like 12 to like 14. There was only like 2 years that I skated, and I started again when I was 30.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah, so like, but I mean, those 2 years were so important. Like, I wouldn't be like I got, and when I started skating again, I started skating with Brett. You know, and you saw Brett's really, really good.
yeah.
He's someone who never stopped skateboarding. So I was in like the best position as someone who was starting later. Like I had so many advantages to get good still pretty quick, you know. So over the next couple of years after I started, like I picked up back up on the basics and started doing them decent, like, you know, relatively quickly, but I've just like kind of stayed in that realm of those like basic tricks to try to really, because I'm all about staying on the board and not falling and like getting it down as good as you can. Like I learn tricks so slow, man. Like so slow.
No,
So like because I really want to number one, I don't want, you know, I don't want to fall the least amount possible.
right.
But I really like spending more time with basic tricks, like rather than moving on and like trying to like really get more consistent with like 360 flips, for example. I'd rather like keep working on my front 180 and make it
Yeah.
look good, you know, that rather than get my feet on like a 360 flip like every, you know, it's just going to take me a long time for that process because I'm still going to put a lot of practice into the basics. Like I want to be able to have, I want to have a solid foundation. You know, like I want these basic tricks to be something I'm still doing when I'm like 70. Like it's kind of like a goal I have. Like you know what I mean? Like most people move to transition. Like I do see I'm already skating more transition, but like I really want to have these basic tricks like ingrained in my bones, you know, so that I'm like just still able to keep progressing like as long as possible. But yeah, man, only a couple of years when I was younger, and then I started back when I was like 30, and like I started, and I could already like pretty much still like ollie, kick, flip, and pop shove it. Like I could pretty much still already do that, just from the couple of years that I skated when I was younger, because I was like crazy about it for a year, and I learned like a lot of tricks when I was younger in a short amount of time. Um, and I started skating in with Brett, who was like just never stopped skating, you know. Like he'd roll up on that little park in Umatilla, and there was just a bank, a pyramid, and a flat bar there. But the amount of tricks he would do was mind-boggling. He skate like you watch him skate a bank. He would just skate a bank sometimes. And I'm talking he would go up and like straight eight, kick flip, you know, switch flip, fakie flip, you know, heel flip, switch heel, nollie heel. And then you just go into like, you know, and then you just go into nollie back heel, nollie back flip, like three flip, you know, fakie three flip. He was never like, that was the only trick he might not have been very consistent on, but like it just, you know, fakie heel, nollie heel, and then like half cab heel, like full cab flip, fakie full cab flip was like one of his go. Like he would do all these like warming up, and it's just wild to see when you're starting out. So like I saw that as like, okay, like I can, you know, when you have people like you always want to skate with people, like try to have someone better than you to skate with, because it just
Right.
it shows you the path. It shows you like this is obviously like, you know, attainable. Like I'm doing it right here in front of you, and you just naturally pick up on things. Like you get the rub, you know. But yeah, yeah. So you know, I'm 37 now,
Do,
so it's been like 7 years, like consistently.
I will say you are so solid with the basics. Like it's like it's just beautiful to watch. It's like art
Oh, thanks, man.
because you're
Appreciate
like
that.
I was telling my friend because we were over at Used to Skate Park, and I was like, dude, my buddy Patrick, like he's our age because we were talking. He's talking about how when you get certain ages or whatever, it's hard to skate and all that. I'm like, dude, Patrick's like our age, and he's doing the same things. Like he's so solid. Like he's consistent. Doesn't look like he ever falls. Like which makes sense as an older man. Like you don't want to be chucking yourself downstairs, like trying tricks that you're going to have to bail for whatever, how many times until you land it. Like hone on what you're good with, like hone in on the basics and make them like just like beautiful to watch. And I was looking at you skate and I was like, man, just playing skate, just like you warming up. And I was like, dude, you're just solid. Like you're just, you're landing everything. And it's just like, it's beautiful to watch because you're like, that's where skateboarding becomes fun because
Hmm.
you get that rush from landing something, So it's like you're
Exactly.
landing so much. You're like a comedian that gets so many laughs and you land so many tricks. So it's like, that's what feels good. Like to be able to cruise around and just do the tricks that you can do like in a wonderful way and land them is just like a crazy thing to see. I'm like, man, I need to like step up my game here. Like I was just because I did the same thing. Like I started when we were, I don't know what 12 or what. I skated from like 12 to like right at 16. Like once I got my car, it was like I didn't touch a skateboard again because it was all about girls and cars.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I really didn't skate that long, but in the time that I did skate those years, like I was obsessed. Like I was looking at just driving down the street, looking at gaps, looking at curves, looking at stairs, ledges, and you're like, oh, you just see the world in a different way. And then I was in high school. I did actually skate later on in high school because I was teaching lessons at the Taveri skate park lessons. Because I worked for the YMCA and they said like, hey, they wanted to like kind of be associated with the Taveri skate park. So I'd wear my YMCA shirt and I'd go out there and be the skateboard instructor for like kids and like show them how to board slide and how to ollie. And but I was pretty terrible anyways, but I was still a skateboard instructor, like teaching people. And it was fun though. I like being out there and I like skating. But then like you, I took a break and came back at 25. And it was just one day on my 25th, I think, yeah, 25th birthday. I got up and I'm like, wonder if I can still skate, like, so I had a motorcycle at the time. So I just rode my motorcycle. I lived downtown Orlando all the way to I Drive, where Van Skate Park was. It's big, Van Skate Park, it's indoor, outdoor. And I go in there, they have everything, and that's my whole plan was like, I'm going to skate what I want to skate. I want to get a big board for my big boat feet, and I'm going to like get pads, and I'm going to skate the bowl. Like I never skated transition, like, cuz
Yeah, yeah.
growing up it was like street skating, like we're going to go, whatever. We didn't have a lot of transition, so I never skated it. And coming back at a later age, I was like, this makes sense. Like I want to stay on the board as much as possible, and I want to learn transition. And it was really fun. Like I skated the bowls for a long time. Then I skated Orlando Skate Park. I used to like bike over there and skate just the pool and the mini ramp. They have like a 2.5 foot mini ramp. It's just
Oh, it's perfect.
wonderful. And yeah, it's just fun, man. It's great. It's a great thing to do. But like watching you all dialed in and clean and like landing everything, I was like, makes me want to like do flip tricks again, but I know I probably shouldn't, because I need to like be careful with my ankles. And so I was like doing like a lot of, when I did skate, and like at 30, like I was skating all the time. I was doing like bonelesses and like fast plants and like finger flips off of like benches and all these different like old school moves.
Tom Green
And
tricks.
yeah, like a lot of tricks where you use your hands.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so that was fun. But man, it is forgot what I was gonna say, but it is a wild animal though, to start skating again, especially older, and to see the progress you've made is like, it's very inspiring, because I'm like, man, I want to do kickflips again, but I'm like, I probably shouldn't. But I think you're misleading, like, because I'm like, yeah, we're the same age, like I could do that. And then I'm like, wait, he's still like in shape, and like also like, hurt my back, so like I got out of shape, and like for the first time in my life. And
Dude,
then you realize, oh man, like I can't jump anymore.
it's weird with injuries as you get older and you do something like skateboarding, because like on one hand, if you get hurt and you end up in a hospital or something, like you're gonna hear the comment, how old are you? Why are you still skateboarding, like a million times, right? Like you're just
Uh-huh.
gonna, people are gonna, and your friends are gonna say, people around you are gonna say it. Like if you have to go into a job, like they're gonna say it. Like you're kind of almost embarrassed to be like, I was skateboarding. And like, oh,
Hmm.
why? I'm like, well, like I would go in like to the hospital with like a limp, I rolled ankle, and I'd be like, I was skateboarding, and they'd be like, why? You know what I mean? But if I was just like, I was playing basketball and I
Yeah,
sprained my ankle, they wouldn't be like, why were you playing basketball? It's just like,
that's a good point.
it's weird. And a lot of things that people, you just accept, like, I don't drive to work anymore. I could look at people that drive and go, why are you driving? Do you know the likelihood of, it's like, yeah, but there's just these acceptable risks that people, you know what I mean? It's like, and then there's these other risks that, because people don't understand it, or because like that bug to like play or ride a bike, like left them a long time ago, for whatever reason, some people aren't into it. Like they
Yeah,
just don't get it. And I think it's easy to do that with physical things. Like, you know what I mean? Especially the physical things you don't understand for sure. Yeah, like again, you want to stay, like my whole thing is like I want to approach this like the safest
methodically, and
possible way, because
yeah,
I just and again, you can never take that's like, but it's like a slippery slope with skateboarding, right? Because like I'm gonna approach, like it's easy to
yeah,
then like creatively distract yourself and be like, oh, that's why I'm not learning. Like I've been trying to learn 360 flips. Like I could get my feet on them sometimes, and it's when I landed like one time when I was like 13. But like the commitment's just like Dude, learning a 360 flip like in your late 30s is it's not, honestly, it's the trick isn't that hard. It's the commitment. Like I can actually flick it. Like I can do the whole back foot scoop, like catch it and land it. It's just like but the commitment is such a big thing as you get older because you just have this like programmed way of thinking and your body's like, no, we don't do that. You got to say, yes, we do. And then the body says, no, we don't do that. And if you really want to keep doing this, here's why we don't do that. Your brain will just show you
Yeah.
things of like why you don't do that. Like you could get hurt. You don't make it to work. This doesn't happen. And you don't lose money. And then you're going to be poor and you're going to die alone and broke because you tried to commit to a 360 flip. Like in your brain will believe it,
Yeah.
you know, you'll like draw that path and be like, that's why I don't do it. And then if you told your friend that, your friend would be like, you're a psychopath. That's obviously bullshit. You just don't want to commit to this trick right now. Like, because if you're
It,
honest with yourself about the risk reward, like,
yeah.
you know, if you commit to it, there's less of a chance of you getting hurt. It's like that with all skateboarding tricks. And it's probably like a metaphor for life. Like, if you just commit 100% to something, it's a lot safer than thinking about doing it and kind of seeing what might go wrong, but not really committing. Like, it's always worse. And it's definitely worse with physical things. And it's a lot worse with skateboarding. And it's like, you know, so it's like you're lying to yourself right there because you know if you commit to it, it's safer as well. So you do the whole risk reward analysis and it's like, this is a trick you can do. You just don't really want to put the work in to do it. So like you're going to say, oh, it's too dangerous. And now you're kind of like everyone else in the beginning of the story. It's like, oh, it's too dangerous. Really? Okay. You're out here skateboarding without pads, you know, at 36. So you're not, that's not number one on your list. Like it's like a value, you know, always being safe. So just figure out how to do the trick. And you'll be okay. You'll be happy.
This is the type of mental struggle and the growth that you get from skateboarding
Yeah.
that shapes you into a better human being, I think, because you go through that. And that's 100% true too. Cause I'm
Yeah.
just like, if I go commit to this, I'm going to just, or I could get hurt. And then, exactly like I'm trying to open up wine bottles with like holding it in my
And
arm and trying to like,
you probably will. You probably
yeah,
will get hurt, but you learn.
yeah.
You learn. Like it's the best, just you learn that way, you know? You learn
And
how to not you get hurt a couple times really bad. You'll be surprised at how creative you get about still doing what you want to do, but be doing it in a really safe way. You know,
yeah, with,
simple things where you're like, okay, I'm not okay. You're like, all right, I learned my line. Like, I'm not going there again. How do I not go there again? Sometimes you got to think like 4 steps ahead, like chess, and be like, okay, this is a trick I'm really not going to do. Like right now, I'm perfectly fine not hitting down rails. You know, like it's something I've never been comfortable with. Like I'm like, you know, I can get like into a board slide on a decent rail. Like I can get into a board slide on like whatever. But
right.
it's something like I didn't feel comfortable with when I was younger. And right now, you watch people get broken off. And that's something you could get broken off doing. Like, you know, you do the
Yeah.
old like board sticks and then slips out the opposite way. And then you go face forward. I've seen people do that on the simplest stuff, you know? And so it's like, and then I've done it almost one time on like it was like a smaller down rail. And then I just decided at one point, like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not hitting handrails. I'm not hitting down rails. And I'm like, if I don't ever do it, that's cool. There's other things that like I find more interesting to work on. So it's whatever, you know? But the trick is like when you find something that you know you want to do and that like fear's in the way.
What's even better is if you have that fear and like you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. And then let's say it was a 360 flip and you're like, you keep just never putting your other foot on. You're like, I don't want to commit. And then because of all these reasons, you talked yourself out of it. And then you just like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And then you land it. And you're like, was that all hogwash? Like, was that all just bullshit? Like, so you feel like I can do almost anything if I commit to it and like put my mind to it, you know. But
Dude, it's
it's
so much
true.
safer and it's just so much if your game is really playing it safe. You know what I mean? Like if your game is I want to play it safe and I want to progress, well then like you have to commit to everything. Like Jeremy Ray skated that way. Like Jeremy Ray, you know, you know who I'm talking about, the pro. He's an older dude. But he did like you remember the kick flip over the towers from like tower to tower?
Oh yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
was Jeremy
Yeah.
Ray.
Dude,
Yeah. And
so
if you
close.
remember the VHS starting point, Trans World starting point,
I
where
don't
it
think
was like
so.
one of the first tutorial videos, everyone had it. It was a VHS, it was starting point, it was Trans World teaches you how to skateboard with Jeremy Ray. And so he basically did like one of the first, like me and Kevin Teach out had it, and we would watch it every day, and that's how we learned how to do tricks.
Those skate videos were like, because I had 411 subscription,
Oh no, I used to come over
and
and watch 411. Remember?
yeah, it was skate in the driveway, and it was like, but they were always like, how to do a kickflip, pop your board, flip it, land bolts, roll away clean, and you're like, yeah,
And every foot
that's how you
position was
do
the
it.
same. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
They
like
didn't give you
his
the nuances.
yeah, kick flip, heel flip, ollie was all the same position. Because like, but what part of that was because like he had a size 10 shoe and was riding like a 7-inch board. Like the boards were so small, you know? So it was like every position had to look the same because it was like standing on a 2x4 or something, you know? It's like how much different can you make this foot position while still staying like still keeping your balance a little bit?
Dude, look at this guy. Talk about 2x4. I mean,
Heck yeah.
this is I think 11. I mean, obviously it's just a cruiser, but
Dude, those
it's
are
got
fun, man. Me and Brett got
the
went through a
chub.
phase of building like dude, I set up so many cruisers. Um usually
And then
using that heroin egg. I really like the heroin
oh
egg.
yeah, that thing is
Yeah.
I've never ridden it, but I like wide boards, and
Yeah, man, they're
obviously I've
good to
got,
have.
some old school ones, and I got this that I was going to shape myself, because it has the concave. It's already been pressed, but I just have to shape it, or cut it, and, you know. But yeah, skating the sevens, the 7.5s, and all that stuff, especially with a size 14 shoe. I'm like, what am I doing here? I feel like I'm on a pencil. So the big
Hmm.
boards are fun, and I've got another one in the car that I skate the pool with. It's a lot of fun. You know what I liked about, like, your approach is a lot how I do fitness, like longevity wise. Like I spend a lot of time warming up, and then I just do the workout at the end of that basically. But a lot of it is spent on like warming up and then stretching. So like I noticed, like it feels like Nija, like how they have, he would like do a trick, and then once he can land that trick on that obstacle, that's number one. And then he would go to number two trick. So he'd always do number one again. So he'd like hit that trick, and then once he's mastered that, go on to the next one. So and then he'd always do that whole run. So you get like 10 tricks, and you're just building up, but always doing one first, always doing two, like in order. So you get so consistent and so good at just learning like the tricks instead of just randomly doing tricks wherever and however. Like I like your methodical approach to it.
Yeah, man. I was having this conversation with someone the other day because like you'll skate with people sometimes, and like me and Brett when we skate together and especially when I was learning, we played a warm up game of skate, and Brett was like really good at like teaching because what we would do is every time we would skate, we would play a warm up game of skate, and he would do all the basic tricks in sequence. We would start with an ollie. We would ollie front 180, back 180, front shove,
Yeah.
back shove, kick flip, heel flip. Those are always the first tricks we play in skate. Always.
Yeah.
You know, like he would do that like on purpose, because he was just, and and we would do that, and the doing basic tricks is it's nice to be able to land like 5 tricks in a row when you get on your board. And if you do those tricks every time you step on your board, you instinctively like go into that rhythm. And a lot of it is OCD. Like I certainly have it to some degree. And Nigel talks openly about like his OCD. And that's what he would say. It's like he was like, yeah, it's an OCD thing. Like get to the park, do whatever, backside flip, feeble, Smith, like, and he would start backside flip, maybe not those tricks, but he would talk about like, yeah, these tricks I would have to do. And then I would do the next trick, next trick, next trick. And it'd be this
Right.
line. And I would like the line or I would not like the line. Sometimes I would start another line, be like, this trick, this trick, this trick. Um, and it's such a good way. You're just setting this foundation, just building, 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 building.
Yeah.
I think it's an awesome way to approach it. What I was gonna say was, yeah, you'll see some people, and like I saw a dude, that I was skating with recently. There's this like pyramid, like not a huge one, but a decent sized pyramid where like you can go straight across, and straight across is maybe like a 3 or 4 foot gap. And he like popped this like nollie big spin over it, like like warming up. I'm warming up, just about to do my ollie front shove back, like whatever. And he warmed up by like ollieing this thing, and then doing a pretty like popping his nollie big spin, like pretty rad, like up to his back foot catch, turn the rest of the way. Three flipped this gap, 360 flipped it, and then backside heeled it too. And I was just like, wow, like that's pretty. And then anything, I think they needed a backside three over the hip, which was kind of high, and it was just like Jesus, And we played a game of skate, and then I skunked him because I just did like I did like a nollie shove, and then I did like a fakie backside shove, but popped it, and then did I don't know, I think I did a back 180, and he missed that. And this dude's gnarly, but they just like, you can be that good and not practice the be like, but after that warm up, like you can only sustain that output. Like some tricks are like high energy, like high
Yeah,
output,
yeah,
and some skaters only have like high output. They only have,
yeah.
I'm getting on this board because I get on the board to freaking kill shit.
Goat.
I get on
Yeah,
board so things fucking die. Like I get on the board and I just think like I go mental, and like those skaters are fun to watch, man. Like don't get me wrong, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like those skaters are fun. Like you need those skaters because if you're around them all the time, you'll eventually just feel like I got to go big. I got to do something. Like I do something big. I can't always just be
yeah,
like this safe freaking guy who does not like 180s and pop shove-its and lands kick flips consistently. Like, oh, cool, great, that's awesome. It's like you do have that feeling sometimes where like you have to have those skaters around you that are always just going for it because you're like, all right, if I'm gonna skate next to this guy, I gotta do something like that bit, like one thing. Like, what do I got? Can I ollie as high as this guy's three flipping? Like, man, maybe. And you just go try, and like it rubs off a little bit on you. But like, I don't think there's a lot of longevity in that kind of skating.
no, but it is nice to watch. Like you're saying, you put that together and like
Hmm.
some, you know, uh, I don't know, like Metallica music, and then cut it together with some clips, like dude's tail dropping off of a roof, and just doing a hand plant on top of a car, on top of a vert wall, and you're like, this guy is just doing crazy stuff, or Jaws, or anything like big, those big stunts. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like there's
that's
those people that are, those guys like Jaws isn't like crazy young, you know. There's dudes that are just like going off still, and they're like a little bit older, but there's a lot more dudes. Look at like what like Andrew Reynolds is skating now.
right.
Mean Williams is still doing stuff, but he's not like skating big gaps every time you see clips. I mean, these guys are still like ripping like crazy. Then you got your transition guys, which I think there's probably I don't know. I mean, the slams those guys take when they're skating like really big ramps. I don't know if there's like, I don't know. There's a direct correlation between like keeping it mellow on more of a street style of skating, or like keeping it mild like on vert. Like, is there more? Which ones? Which like depends what you're going for, I guess, because you can get broken off with doing anything. You know what I mean? So it just depends what you want, probably. But I think there's more dudes. I don't know. Are there more people that are like just crushing it like on like street style skateboarding like at an older age than there are like dudes that are still doing vert and stuff? I don't know.
I mean, I think you could definitely do vert longer.
Yeah, there probably
Uh,
is. Yeah, there's more people probably doing vert. I don't know why. I was about to try to make the case that like I think it's because I watch a lot of Reynolds, and I watch a lot of like people who are, I try to like focus. It's probably because I focus on more people that are older and still like you know doing a line like at like a street plaza style skate park, and they're doing like a clean looking line like that. Just I think probably like is more attractive to me than but yeah, there's probably definitely people just skating ramps, skating dudes that still skate mini ramps, dudes that still skate smaller pools, or even like get full padded up and skate bigger stuff still at an older age. there's probably definitely more people that are doing that because it's easier to probably stay healthy until you step it up and you hang up on one of those big ass ramps. I don't know what you would do at that point. That's a hard sled
That
to take as an older dude, you know?
that's the tricky thing about skateboarding is like it builds up your confidence. It's like a double-edged sword. So the better you are, or not the better you are, but the better you're doing, you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. I feel good. Like, and so you get this like inflated, kind of almost delusional sense where you drop your guard and you're like, I'm confident. I'm going to land that. And that's where you get broken off because
Mm-hmm.
you weren't prepared to fall, or you were all ready to commit. I mean, you're definitely going to commit and you're going to go for it, but you're also ready to fall or bail. Like, it's when you get too much confidence, at least for me, to where I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm doing good. And then next thing you know, you're just like slammed at the bottom of the transition. You're like, what happened? I was just doing an axle stall. Like, what happened? And it's I mean, I've hit a rock, just, like that when you roll away and you're just looking back, like, yeah, and you're just rolling and you just hit a little pebble or something and you go completely bodied on the ground and you're like, like skateboarding makes you like focus on the details and the little things. You can't just like overlook it. Um,
Dude, respecting the
it's,
trick. I always say like you got to respect this thing. Like you
yeah,
respect it, like it requires attention. It requires like, attention to detail. It requires all of your attention. Like trust me, And I told you
yeah,
there was the lady at the skate clinic I was doing that was a little bit older, and she like mid session she like, kind of started crying. She's like, this is just so nice. I've had such a hard like a year this year, like, and she was like broke down and was crying. And I think it was because like and I just told her, I was like, well, you came to the right place. You can't think about anything while you're skateboarding. If you do, you're gonna get hurt. And then you'll learn like, oh,
yeah,
okay, cool. I can't, I have to respect this. This isn't just like an ollie. This is like me taking my body weight off of the ground at 36 years old or 50 or 60,
yeah,
and landing on a thing that's gonna roll, if I completely don't pay attention to it. So I'd like it to do exactly what I want it to do. So I should probably pay full attention to it. But yeah, for sure. I think
and
that's why I think it was just respecting the trick because I've
yeah,
gotten such stupid injuries off of just like doing a pop shove it. Well, I could pop shove it over that or off of that, yeah. And it's like, and then you get broken off, and you're like, when was the last time I even did it on flat to where I felt really comfortable catching it properly? And okay, I should probably focus on those more, and but I didn't respect it for a minute. And I was like, that's a given. I have that. I can do that. But dude, you see it all the time, man. You see it happen to people all the time.
yeah, that's a good way to put it, to respect the trick. Because if you don't respect it, it is not going to respect you.
Yeah.
You are going to feel it. And, keeping the logic involved is very important too. Like, don't just go with feeling like, I'm going to do this because I feel it. Like, think about it and be like, have I done this on flat? Am I confident on it? Can I land it every time? Then, yeah, there's a good chance I could do it on this obstacle. Don't pick a trick that you could barely land on flat to go try to, chuck down some stairs.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a
It's
mental
rough.
game.
That's rough.
Do you warm up like physically before you go skate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you,
The things that have helped me that have really helped like set my sessions up the best, especially as I've gotten older, is hydrating and eating, obviously, beforehand. Having bringing some kind of hydration with you. I always bring electrolytes with me because I'm used to skating in Florida. But yeah, beyond that, I have like a little routine that I do. I think like everyone should have, a routine of kind of just like because you have to get your brain in touch with your muscles. You got to get your whole nervous system ready to like prepare what's going on. Like it's stressful, it's like less stressful the more you do it, but like doing basic tricks can be really stressful for someone who's not used to doing basic tricks. Like if you're just not used to rolling around and like doing tricks on flat, if you kind of like go right to doing the same thing every time, just like go through like do like front 180, back 180, front shove, back shove, kick flip, heel flip. If those seem like easy tricks to you, like go do them like 5 times each, to warm up and see if you can get like 5 back 180s, 5 front 180s, 5 front shoves, 5 back shoves. 5 kick flips and 5 heel flips. And if you can't, like, start with one, like go through one of
Hmm.
them, go do one each, and like start and end your session by just doing all those tricks until you get them all in a row. Don't just do all of them. You got to do them all in a row. Like, no
Yeah.
matter, even if they're ugly, but then your brain will start getting like, if I think most skaters have some degree of OCD. And then if your brain start like you'll get to the point where you have to do a good one. Now you got to do a good front 180, back shove, front shove, kick flip, heel flip. Like, dude, you'll get so much better so quick. Like, forcing yourself to have good basics and then connecting all the dots. And again, like, I don't think I'm that good at all. Like, it's
Oh,
just like
you're
the stuff,
solid.
just because of like, just the things you watch, like, on, I'm not saying I watch social media and go, oh, like, oh, I'm not good, but like, I've skated with some dudes that, like, just, they've put things together that, like, I don't know if I'll ever put together. But um staying healthy and knowing the fundamentals, I think, is the quickest way to get there, especially when you're older. Yeah.
Do you warm up your legs at all before you skate?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
you
yeah. Oh,
skate
yeah.
it early in the
Yeah. I didn't even
morning.
answer your question, but yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do, like, I have a little warm up routine. I do, like, yeah. I mean, I like doing, things like simple, like jumping jacks. Like, I don't do like the whole jumping jack, but I'll bounce. I'll pick a line on the ground, and I'll get on one leg, and I'll jump on one leg back and forth over the line. I think that's a really good warm up. That's really gonna, like, your stability, that muscle brain connection, jumping in general, just waking everything up, like your joints and everything. Um, yeah, jump back and forth over the line, each foot. Um, just kind of swinging my one leg across my body and then back up to the side. That, just holding on to, pivoting on my board and just like swinging one leg back and forth. Um, we actually did. I did a YouTube collaboration with Adrian from Skate Athletics, and he is, like, you could call him. He's actually like an exercise, scientist to some degree. He's in medical school, and I'm pretty sure he has like his credentials as a certified strength and conditioning specialist. He definitely has a Bachelor of Science
CSCS.
in exercise. I did a collaboration with him on his channel, and I covered pre-skate nutrition, and then he covered all of the actual warm-ups, like from an evidence-based, like, perspective. So that would be like a really cool video to check out. He does a really good job in that video. But I basically kind of like, I started, ever since we did that video earlier this year, I like stole from that pretty much and modified mine to kind of like mimic that. It's like deep squats and like reaching to the side, um, just some things that make a lot of sense. I don't do a whole lot of static stretching, I will say that. I like doing more dynamic movements. So just like moving in and out of uncomfortable situations, jumping. I think like, if you're gonna do intense stretching in general, it's probably not the best idea if you want a lot of quick contraction from your muscles. Just from a physiology standpoint, probably
Yeah.
not the best idea. You want to do more dynamic stuff for sure, rather than just like static stretching. I think static stretching is probably a little bit better, even if you're doing it for like a corrective, so something like corrective static stretching. I think it's probably better off you do that later, like away from activity where you're like contracting and jumping and stuff like that. But
That
as it works for me.
that's exactly it. That's the science when I was in school, was dynamic warm-ups and then static stretching at the end,
Yeah.
especially for force production. And yeah, warming up your body is something, as we get older and we skate, is super important. And that's what I always do. Like, I won't skate really if I don't warm up first. Like, I have to do
Yeah.
my whole warm up routine that I do before I work out, and then I just don't work out. I just go skate, or sometimes I'll add slack line.
Okay.